Before we start today's show, we want to invite you to stick around at the end of the episode to enjoy a preview of a new podcast that premieres on July 14th. As the industry's exclusive cannabis podcast network, MJBulls is proud to present Women Leading in Cannabis. Join host Kira Reed each week for inspirational discussions with women who are leading the cannabis industry.
So what we're looking to do is raise anywhere between $50 to $100 million, supply this equipment. We have a perpetual licensing with them to run this product, and they'll have the fastest and the cheapest oil out there because the people that are doing it by hand or batching can't compete with the speeds and the process that we run fully automated with a minimum amount of overload.
From MJBulls Media, it's the Raising Cannabis Capital Show. Today in Raising Cannabis Capital, we are joined by a former guest, John Sullivan. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Well, one thing about the cannabis industry that most people just have a hard time getting their head around is there's no existing infrastructure. You know, we've all heard the saying that necessity is the mother of all inventions. Well, cannabis is the mother lode of all necessities. I mean, just about everything in this industry has to be recreated or invented, creating enormous opportunity for entrepreneurs. Let me say it a different way. We know we can't use banks or credit cards. So the necessity to invent a different way to process payments had to be created. And we can't advertise. So there was a necessity to invent advertising platforms. So we thought with all these inventions, it'd be a good idea to occasionally feature different cannabis inventors. So with this idea, I went back to John Sullivan because he was on our show a few months ago talking about his first cannabis invention, which was a robotic machine that linked all the equipment necessary to automate a cannabis processing facility. And it could process over 2,000 pounds of cannabis per hour. And like John was like, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, we did this interview. We were so excited. You know, before we jump ahead, this wasn't John's first clam bake. He had a couple home run inventions before he got into cannabis. He was the inventor of the most popular cotton candy in the world, Fluffy Soft. And then he went on and invented electronic controls for NASCAR drivers Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, which were eventually used by all NASCAR drivers. So he's got some serious inventor chops. And I'm sure he saw what was going on in cannabis and said, I got to get in there because these guys need me. So today, he's here to talk about what's going on with his invention. I'm going to let you explain to everybody where we are today, less than 3 months later.
So the phone calls that we're getting now are people that want to process 60,000 pounds an hour. That's the bar right now. And, to do 60,000 pounds an hour required a completely different approach and a completely different technology because it's just so much biomass that you have to dry, chill, and extract, and we go all the way to isolate. It's crude distillation and isolate. To do that completely automated required a completely different set of plans. And so where we're at right now is that we've got a complete automated processing line that can do anywhere from 250 pounds to 100,000 pounds an hour.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
Yep.
So when you say fully automated, they drive the truck right up to the back or the forklift and it just puts the raw material right in, and that's the last time anybody touches it. It's all in.
That's correct. We dry it, we hammer mill it into the correct particle size we need. It gets put in a super sack where it stays in the drying room while it's waiting to be processed. And then from there, it goes into the process system. And once that happened, it goes into a cold storage where it gets brought down to minus 70. The alcohol is at minus 70.
Minus 70 Celsius.
They get mixed, and the mix really is where the oil is getting separated. That's completely computer controlled. That's feeding this cryogenic system that we developed that separates the biomass from the oil. And then that gets evaporated. The oil comes out. So that's your crude. Or you can send it to distillation, or you can send it to isolates. That entire process is fully automated. no one touches it once it gets past the mixing tanks.
Oh my gosh. And okay, so now the $1 million question, or I'm going to say $1 billion question, what happened that we needed to go from 2,000 pounds to 100,000 pounds?
Well, what happened is the billionaires jumped in. So they saw this opportunity to say, well, we don't want to grow 10 acres. We want to grow 4,000 acres. We want to grow 100,000 acres. And so they started finding clients overseas that aren't in this market yet that they could sell this product to. And the problem was they all started growing, thinking that technology was there. And then they found out it wasn't. Then they came to us and said, look, we need 60,000 pounds an hour. And right now, it appears that we're the only ones that have that solution. We were also getting phone calls from smaller people that said, I need to do this amount of pounds an hour, and I only have $2 million.
This is an issue because everybody's cash flow is tight because they're, in the full-on growth mode. So they don't have the upfront cash to pay $10 million or $15 million for this equipment. And so you are going to use a model similar that the only one I can compare it to would be almost the software industry, where I'll let you explain how it works, but it's what's beautiful about it is it's reoccurring.
Well, what the game plan is a lot of these farmers have, anywhere from 100 to 1,000 acres of product in the ground. So that's equity, but they don't have the funds to really process that material. So if they join our subscription plan, what we do is that we take money up front, and then we get a percentage of the crops that they grow. We'll set up the facility in their area in which we can get a co-op of other farmers in, and we help maintain the facility. As there's upgrades, we give them the upgrades. And so really there's a partnership now of all these facilities that we would have spread around the United States, in which everybody wins.
Yeah.
So what we're looking to do is raise anywhere between $50 to $100 million, supply this equipment. We have a perpetual licensing with them to run this product, and they'll have the fastest and the cheapest oil out there because the people that are doing it by hand or batching can't compete with the speeds and the process that we run fully automated with a minimum amount of overhead.
The barriers to entry that somebody would have to go over to get to what you're talking about right now would seem insurmountable.
So for investors, it's recurring revenue. And when we decide to sell the entity, we all know that recurring revenue is where the highest values are.
Yeah.
And so with that, we'd also have a continuing R&D center that's constantly making these improvements and speeding this process up, in which everyone in the network benefits from it.
And you have orders right now, or pending orders right now, and you already have the equipment ready to go, so you're in the go zone.
Yeah. So we have roughly about 27 million in the pipeline right now.
Oh my gosh. All right, so this has to move quickly. If you're interested, John Sullivan would be the point of contact. We have all of his information on our website. What type of investor you're looking for?
Yeah, we're looking for someone who's probably in the hemp or cannabis space that knows the market and understands the space, and it'd be an equity share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're probably going to have to bring a syndicate in for this. Again, John Sullivan, and I'll have all of his information on the MJBulls website. And John, I can't wait to talk to you in 3 months. You'll be you'll be 500,000 pounds an hour.
You just never know, right? Never say never, that's for sure. It's an exciting field because it's growing so fast. It's just exciting to watch. That's the other thing that we bring to the table is that people that are just getting into the space and growing for the first time can network with other members in our group to make sure they're doing it right.
Yeah. This is about this whole industry. It's one big community. It's really exciting. Well, John, thanks for being on the show. Promise me we'll be back in a few months because I want to do this again. All right.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, good luck.
Tell me, boy, you make me so bored. You need to walk the other way. I tell you once more. Please get out of my way. I don't want you no more. We're done here, boy. I know you think you're so fine, but you can't see me.
My name is Kira Reed, and I'd like to invite you to be inspired by the women who are leading in the cannabis industry. Each week, we will discuss empowerment, leadership, and what it means to be a woman in charge in marijuana, hemp, and CBD. As the founder of the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, I have had the great pleasure to get to know many brilliant and talented women who are CEOs, executives, politicians, advocates, and community leaders that are focused on creating a cannabis economy that is just, fair, and equal. We'll learn how these women make decisions, how they navigate a predominantly male industry, and what they're doing to level the playing field for women. I hope you'll join us.